Good morning. My name is Connie Krupp, and I'm a certified health and life coach. And I'm thrilled to be a part of your special day of dialogue. Real quick background, my background is in social work. I was a social worker and a supervisor at a county agency. And then I got my master's and moved into teaching at a community college. I taught in the social work program and also in the business division. And then I was approached by a company to write some curriculum. And so I left teaching early and became a consultant and formed my own business as an instructional designer. And that's where I had the wonderful opportunity to meet Kathy Albin and Chris Meyer and work with the Coeur d'Alene tribe, where we developed an associate degree program through North Idaho College. And I got to spend a lot of time in Coeur d'Alene and loved every minute of it. Made dear friends and stayed connected. And that's how I got the opportunity to be with you today. And I want to talk a little bit about your theme. It's called Surviving to Thriving, which is just exactly where we are. It's stressful times. People are worried. I work with a lot of clients right now that are lonely, depressed, feeling there is no hope. And even though we turned the calendar to 2021, we thought it was going to be better. It still just kind of sucks. And so this is a perfect theme. We are going to work on surviving. And one of the ways that I help clients and myself with surviving through any kind of issues, whether they be major like the pandemic and loss of a job or loss of a loved one, we still can work really, really hard to find some joy. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And so my presentation is all around the Book of Joy. And I wanted to just show you the book in case you haven't had the opportunity to buy it yet. It has a beautiful, fun jacket. It's by the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. But the book itself is gorgeous. And it's a book for your coffee table or a book. I leave it by my bedside and read little excerpts out of it all the time. So it's become one of my real all-time favorites, and I'm giving it to everybody that I know and love as gifts. And it's just a sign of the times. It's perfect for what we're going through right now. So let's start to look at the Book of Joy. And I have a little presentation, so I'm going to share my screen here with you. And the name of my business is Wellness for Life Coaching. And once I started coaching, I got really excited about working with people. And I'll talk a little bit about that before. But before we dive into the book, I would really like to make sure that we're present and can get as much out of this beautiful day as possible. So what I'd like you to do is get anchored and sit tight in your chair, put your feet on the floor, and we're just going to do a little bit of meditative breathing. I call it the 5-5-7 breathing. It takes less than 2 minutes. You can do it at any time when you're stressed, and it just helps us relax a little more. So what I'd like you to do is close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. Put your hands on your lap and bring your shoulders down, unclench your jaw. We're going to take 5 breaths, or a breath in to count to 5. We're going to hold it to the count of 5, and then we'll let it out to the count of 7. So it's the 5-5-7. So let's begin. We're going to take inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now just breathe normally. Inhale and exhale. In with the peace, out with the stress. In with the good, out with the bad. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So thankful for doing that. Thank you for doing that with me. It's something that we can do at any time. If we wake up during the night, or if we can't fall asleep, if we're stuck in traffic, if we're angry at someone, we can take a couple of deep breaths before we respond, the stimulus and response. Okay, let's dive into the pillars, 8 pillars of joy. As I said, this is a book by the Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, and written by Douglas Abrams. And it's a fun story of the 3 of them getting together. And the Dalai Lama and the Desmond Tutu are very good friends, and they don't get to see each other very often. And it's a very nice blend of both of their spirituality. So the first pillar of joy is perspective. A healthy perspective is the foundation of joy and happiness. The way we see the world is how we experience it. Stress makes it hard for us to step back and see solutions. If we can look at this pandemic, for example, by taking a wider perspective, we can see some of the good things that have come out of this. I know many of us have lost loved ones or friends, or know people that got very sick, and we haven't been able to see our family and our friends because of it. But if we can step back and try to look at anything good that comes out of some negative, it's that we've spent more time with our families. We are eating together. We are hopefully cooking a little healthier. We are finding ways to entertain ourselves at home. We're not spending so much money on clothes and gas and makeup and parties and all of the other things. So we have to try and find some good in everything that's helped us. One of the nice things for me is that I'm able to attend this conference and present with you, which I wouldn't have been able to without the Zoom and all of the technology that we use. And so in coaching, we call that reframing, looking at a negative statement or a negative thing and turning that around into a positive. If we can look at a few good things that come out of a bad situation, we can have a broader, richer perspective. And Desmond Tutu calls this God's eye perspective. If we can take ourselves out of the situation by stepping back, sometimes it just helps us see something different. So let's take a minute and think about something that you have blown way out of proportion in the past, way out of proportion. And when it happened, it really wasn't that bad, or when you took a step back, it was okay. And put that in the chat. Terry's just going to take a minute to read a couple of those. Thank you for that. The next one is humility. When we think of ourselves as special or better than, it causes a great deal of anxiety and stress. And when we meet with people on a human level, we can remember that they're all the same. When I was teaching at the community college, I had a mentor. His name was Dennis. And he always said, remember, Connie, as an instructor, you are the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage. You don't have to know everything, especially when you're teaching adults. They all have some good information to bring too. And that just helped me relax. I could feel my shoulders relaxing. I could feel my jaw unclenching, because I would ask the students when we'd be developing an HR policy, bring in your HR policies, or do some research online and find some other HR policies. It's pretty amazing when you ask for their input, how you learn from each other and you don't always have to feel like you're the expert. So think about a time in your life when feeling humble helped you feel better about the situation, and put that in the chat. Again, Terry's going to read a couple of those for us. Thank you. The next pillar of joy is humor. Right now, the world is very serious. People are scared. One of the best ways of getting into the hearts of people is to have the capacity to make them laugh. It's important to laugh at ourselves too. We are human. Again, Desmond Tutu says, if you start looking for the humor in life, you will find it. Watching the evening news does not add humor to my life. Watching America's Funniest Videos does. Reading the comics in the Sunday paper. And just thinking about some things that are funny. What do you like to do that makes you laugh? Put that in the chat. Great, thank you. I came across a couple of great billboards that were in the AARP. Yes, I get the AARP magazine. And it was from El Royra's restaurant in Austin, Texas. And so I just posted a couple of these. You smell great. What hand sanitizer are you wearing? Me, this show is boring. My boss, again, Connie, this is a Zoom meeting. And another, when this virus is over, I still want some of you all to stay away from me. Again, we have to have a little humor in our lives. The next pillar of joy is acceptance. Once we see life in its wider perspective, as we talked about earlier, when we see our role in its drama and some degree of humility and with humor, laughing at ourselves, we can then accept our life in all its pain, imperfection, and its beauty. Acceptance is the opposite of resignation or defeat. Stress and anxiety come from our expectations of how we think life should be. Most of our suffering comes from reacting to people, places, things, and circumstances in our lives rather than accepting them. It's the ego, and it's the old serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and then the wisdom is the big one, to know the difference. What area of your life do you need to accept that you can't change? Put that in the chat. Yes, our age, the weather. Great, thank you. The next one is forgiveness, pillar 5. Not being able to forgive someone is like holding on to a burning piece of coal, hoping to throw it at them. We are the ones that are getting burnt. Often the people we are closest to are the people we have the hardest time forgiving. Why do you think that is? To forgive does not mean we approve or condone the wrongdoing. It's the difference between the person and the action. We have the power to choose not to hold on to that anger and that hatred. We have the power to choose forgiveness. Holding on to the anger and the hurt only hurts us more than the person that we're angry with. This is where the power of forgiveness comes in. Let's think about a person that we're angry with. Imagine holding on to that piece of burning coal. Who is it hurting? It keeps us stuck and it doesn't allow us to move on. Imagine forgiving that person. Can you forgive this person in your mind? Put yes, no, maybe, why, or why not? Take a minute to put that in the chat. Thank you. Number 6 is gratitude. Gratitude is one of the dimensions of finding joy. Being grateful helps us shift our perspective, pillar 1, toward all we have given and all that we have instead of what we don't have. When we are grateful, we act out of a sense of enough and not a sense of scarcity. It's the grass is always greener. Grateful people are joyful people. A joyful world is a happy world. People who focus on gratitude by keeping a list of a journal or what they're grateful for each day exercise more, have fewer physical symptoms, get sick less, and live longer. And there are studies to prove it. If you are interested in the name of those studies, I can get those to you. And they are certainly more positive. Think about a person that you know is grateful. What is it about them that you think makes them grateful people? Or what are their attributes? And put something in the chat about what are you grateful for? Great. Thank you. Compassion. We are social animals, and this pandemic has made it very hard to be social. Our survival depends on the rest of the community. We're talking about surviving here, and we need people and friends and family to help us survive. And the Dalai Lama says if you want a happy life and fewer problems, you have to develop a concern for the well-being of others. The more time we spend thinking about ourselves, the more suffering we will experience. The incredible thing is that when we think of alleviating other people's sufferings, our own suffering is reduced. This is the true secret to happiness and to thriving. Many people are afraid to be compassionate because they think they'll be taken advantage of, or they won't be able to handle the other person's distress, or there are too many problems that they just, why bother? And maybe people are afraid of receiving compassion from others because they think they're going to appear to be weak. Compassion is one of the most difficult and courageous of all of our motivations, but it's also the most healing, and it can bring us the most joy. Take a minute to think about one person you can reach out to during this pandemic. And what is one thing that you can help this person with? Put that in the chat. Thank you. And the last pillar of joy is generosity. Generosity and compassion go hand in hand. When we care about someone, we are more likely to give time, money, and support to them. Generosity is so important to your survival that studies show that our brains light up when we give back. Again, many people are afraid to be too generous with their time or their money, that's material giving, because of the same fear of being taken advantage of. We can also give freedom fear by providing protection and solace and spiritual giving, which can involve wisdom, moral, and ethical teachings, praying, and helping people to be happier. I always think of when we feel like, why bother? I always think about the story of the little boy and the starfish. And I'm sure you've heard it, but this little boy is walking along the beach and all of these starfish washed up because there was a storm. And a man was jogging and he ran past the little boy and he stopped and he said, "What are you doing?" And the little boy said, "I'm saving these starfish." And the guy laughed and he said, "You can't save all these starfish." And the little boy picked one up that was wiggling and jiggling and he threw it back into the ocean and he said, "I just saved that one." And it is one person at a time. And the Dalai Lama says, in fact, taking care of others, helping others, ultimately is the way to discover your own joy and have a happy life. Once more, think about some way you can be generous during these tough times, whether it's giving back, material, food pantry, working at a food pantry, donating your time, giving a call to someone. List a couple of things in the chat that you think that you can give back. You can be generous. Thank you. And the Dalai Lama says that educating our children is the most compassionate thing that we can do. And we shouldn't wait until they're grown. We can be role models. We can teach it if we're educators. We can help in any way possible to be more compassionate. He says being compassionate for just 10 minutes a day can lead to 24 hours of joy. Think about that. Think about how can we practice these 8 pillars of joy. One thing I did was started a face group for this book of joy. So when you're reading the book, after you read it, please join the group, and they'll be including all of this in that resource manual that you'll be receiving. And I'll be doing some live talks about the 8 pillars, and you can join me and share. And I'll be videotaping them also, so you can decide if you want to join us or not. But it would be a great way to keep this discussion going. I also talked a little earlier. I am a certified life and health coach, and I have a website, Wellness for Life Coaching, and my email is connie@wellnessforlifecoaching.com. I also have an Instagram account, Wellness Coaching CK, where I post some health tips. I work with a nutritionist, and I have my own coach, and I post things to boost our immune system, teas that can help you sleep, and all kinds of resources. I've also developed a journal that goes along with this discussion. And so I would like for you to email me or go into my website. And there you can download the journal. It's called the Book of Joy Journal. A little pop-up window will come up, and you just fill in your name and email address, and then I'll send you the Book of Joy. It includes some of the things I discussed about today, but it also will help you do some thought-provoking. I've added some thought-provoking questions, and so hopefully that will help you with some things. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and come back. And again, hopefully you can practice some of these pillars, and that we can continue to dialogue on my Facebook group. And I'll be posting all kinds of other tips and some more resources about bringing joy into our lives so that we can thrive. We're striving like heck, and hopefully we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And now we're going to move into a little bit of discussion, and Kathy Albin is going to take over. So Kathy, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.